New Year's Day is a day where everybody gathers together and starts to celebrate the beginning of a new year. It is the first page of a 365-page book. People gather around and celebrate and also have fun. But sometimes, leaving the fun aside, we have some scary incidents that can happen that nobody wants to go through, such as the following that you're about to hear. This happened on New Year's Eve. It started at about dinner time when my boyfriend and I were cleaning up and getting ready to have people over. We kept losing things, then finding them right back in the same place a few minutes later. We thought we were just imagining it, but it kept happening over and over again. It seemed like every time we needed something, it would disappear. After finally getting everything cleaned, my friend Carson arrived. He, my boyfriend, and I were sitting there watching TV, talking about nothing, when my boyfriend said something, and an unknown man's voice said, "Right," in return. The three of us were so confused. We looked everywhere to see if our roommates had come back home, but no one was there. We told them about it when they actually came home, and they said that they had been hearing the same thing the night before. A while later, I went to the bathroom and I heard a loud cough behind my ear as I was washing my hands. All the hair on my neck stood up and I ran out of there. No one that was there believed me until the rest of our guests showed up. I was drinking after that incident, and so was everyone else, except for the two designated drivers. They didn't know that I heard it myself, and with other people having heard it as well, it was easy to tell everybody and make them believe me. Nothing happened to me the rest of the night, but in the morning when I was sobered up as well as everyone else, I heard the cough again. Nothing has happened since though. I am worried about the holidays and whatnot because it seems like it's the only time that something really happens around here. This happened back in the New Year's Day. A married couple had been fighting a lot and were very aggressive with each other, and it looked like they were going to get divorced. However, the wife discovered she was pregnant, and for the sake of the baby, they decided to give the marriage another try. The boy was born, and the family had a short period of tranquility, but before long, the old hostilities resurfaced, and the father and mother were fighting all the time. One night, when the boy was around 5 years old, and they had put him to bed, the couple got into an enormous row, and in a fit of rage, the father put his hands around the wife's neck and choked the life out of her. When he eventually realized what he had done, he began to panic. He knew he had to get rid of the body, so he bundled the body into the boot of his car, and as dawn was breaking, he drove out the town to a swamp. He took the body from the car, but it was too difficult to carry, so he slung her across his back, like giving her a piggyback, and he waited outside for a few hours, trying to get the reeking smell of the dead body out of himself. The man went home and cleaned up and got in the shower, but he couldn't get rid of the smell, and it made him sick to his stomach. No matter how hard he scrubbed, or no matter how much he showered, it followed him wherever he went. As the days passed, the boy became anxious for his mother and asked all kinds of questions like, "Where's Mom?" And the father would just say that his mother had gone to stay with relatives. One day, the man noticed his son was looking at him in a strange way. The smell was strong as ever. Every time he approached his son, he recoiled in horror. Eventually, he walked into his child's room as he was playing on the floor and asked this, "Son, is there something you want to say to me?" "Yes, father," said the boy. "Is it about your mother?" asked the father. "Yes," said the son. "What is it?" asked the guy. "Why is Mama's face so pale?" asked the son. "What do you mean?" says the guy. "And why have you been giving her a piggyback all day?" This sent shiver down his spine. Two young brothers were left alone by their parents when their parents went to visit the neighbors on New Year's Day. "Be good," their parents said to them. So to keep themselves occupied, the boys decided to play a game of hide and seek. The older boy turned his head to the wall and began to count. He could hear his little brother's feet as he scampered about looking for a place to hide. "Ready or not, here I come," cried the older brother after he was done counting. The older brother went off and started looking for his brother. He looked in all the usual places, behind the sofa, in the bath, behind the curtains, under the bed, but he couldn't find him. The apartment was eerie silent. Then he heard a scraping sound coming from the wardrobe. The boy was sure he had already looked in there. But anyway, he went and called out, "Come out, I found you." But there was only silence. Again, he called for his brother to come out, and again nothing. Opening the door, the boy tries to peer behind the wall of dresses coats hanging there. He bends down but doesn't see any feet there. Then, as he outs his hand through the coats, a small white, icy cold hand comes out and grabs his wrist, trying to pull him into the closet. Trying to pull himself free, he hears a noise behind him and turns around, only to see his brother behind him. "Couldn't you find me?" asked the boy. The older brother screams in fright and desperately tries to free himself from the grip off the hand, all the while being pulled into the wardrobe. The younger brother grabs him and together they manage to pull him free. They both run screaming from the apartment. Nobody knows what would have happened if the hand had managed to pull him in. Nobody even knows who that was, because the police were called, but by then, whoever was in there had left. A recently married couple were going on a long road trip through the heart of the US on New Year's Day to celebrate. One night, it was raining hard, and the headlights of their car flashed across a bearded man on the side of the road who looked very dirty and was sticking his thumb up, looking like a hitchhiker. Not usually one for taking hitchhikers, but the weather was so bad that the husband pulled over and offered the guy a lift. The man thanked them and climbed in. He seemed agitated and edgy and barely spoke a word for the whole journey. Eventually, the couple dropped him off across the street where he had asked them to. The rain was still coming down in sheets. The couple drove on for a good while. The husband turned the radio on to pass the time and heard a news report about an escaped lunatic considered very dangerous and who should not be approached under any circumstances. The description matched the hitchhiker, and the couple looked at each other, clearly shook, but happy that nothing happened to them. Just then, the car gave out, and no amount of keying the ignition would make it start again. So the husband tells his wife to stay in the car while he decides to set off through the rain to try and get help. The woman locks the doors and tries to listen to the radio, but the car battery seems dead. Eventually, she dozes off. She wakes up with seeing flashing police lights through the water coming down the windshield and a voice through the loudspeaker. "Ma'am, open the door now. Get out of the car and run towards us as soon as you can. Do it now," the officer screamed. The woman is confused but gets out of the car and puts her hand above her head. "Run and don't look back," orders the officer. But the woman turns. She doesn't listen to the officer. In the flashing blue lights of the police car, and illuminated by flashes of lightning, she sees on the top of her car the hitchhiker with a machete hatching at the dismembered corpse of her husband, with blood streaming over the car. She screams and faints as a flurry of gunshots ring out. She wakes up in the hospital. We all hope that she gets better and gets over this traumatizing experience.